Greetings. My name's Melissa Michaels. I'm 60 years old, and in March of 2017, I was diagnosed with what they were calling stage 3B ovarian cancer. It turned out to be actually fallopian tube cancer, but they couple them together. And I have not experienced a recurrence and have no intention of doing so. And my support team has been incredible throughout the whole journey. Like so many of us, the diagnosis came fast and the surgery for me was within 3 days. So I gathered immediately a group of very close women friends, and we sat in a circle and really dropped into the magnitude of what was happening and what was going to be needed to happen to support me and our family through this time in a very practical way and in a more tender way related to all that was happening emotionally, and then also in a way of really understanding that there was a mystery unfolding and none of us knew where this was really going to go. So my support team started with my women's circle and then my immediate family. And I was very blessed to have adult children who came home, one who actually quit her job and came home to live with me and really walked with me through so much of the 6 months of rigorous treatment. And my husband, who had actually, his late wife had navigated her way through cancer and had not survived. So it was very vulnerable for him and for the whole family. And so we made agreements about I would always go to chemo without him, and I would take my girlfriends there, or I would go alone. There was a need for me to have a great deal of solitude, to alchemize, to make sense of, to be with what was happening in my life, but most importantly, what was happening in my body. And one of the most powerful ways that I made it through this journey was, rather than trying to escape the experience, I dove so deeply into the sensations and the emotions and tracked them very closely. And by tracking the sensations, I was able to really articulate what it was that I was needing moment to moment. And it really allowed me to have as minimal input from the allopathic world as possible because I was so sensitively attuned. Obviously, I had surgery and a very rigorous protocol for chemotherapy, both IP and IV. And I just hunkered in and stayed very, very close to myself. And I also spent a lot of time moving my body whenever I could. There were days that I was flat. I was not going anywhere except horizontal to just really rest and try and stay connected with myself. But whenever I had the energy, and certainly when those steroids were part of the protocol, I would move and I would dance and I would hike. And sometimes it was hard, and I'd have to stop and catch my breath and orient. And but I definitely did everything I could just to keep the energy moving, which for me was life-saving, in fact. And when you ask, what does the word hope mean to me? It really means tethering myself to the truth of every moment. And in that, there is so much grace, actually. Even if there is what we call pain, there's also presence. And by being awake to what was really happening, I could start to experience the many miracles that were all over the place. The graciousness of the people who supported me, the nurses, my incredible oncologist team. I mean, the nurses and the docs were certainly part of my support too. And my community was part of my support, the incredible love that poured in. And I really set good boundaries, like I was not interested in people's stories, people's fears, and I gave them tools. We would keep moving together for really working with all of that. But I had a tight circle around myself so that I could continue to keep coming in and staying really focused with myself. And really, my deepest hope came from the fact that I was doing what I was guided to do and told to do every step of the way. I was a good student of this journey, and I was blessed to have access to both allopathic excellent care and more integrative care, acupuncture, and movement and herbs and things that were really supportive of the whole experience that was happening in my body and in my psyche. And the things that I did to stay optimistic are the same things I did to breed hope, are the same things I did to stay healthy amidst it all, or as grounded as I could, which was I allowed myself to give and receive love. And when it wasn't fun and things were testy in the home, we talked about it. We would like clear the decks because everybody was in a process, not just me. So something about keeping that emotional landscape well massaged and open was really critical. I pulled in when I needed to, and I committed to just staying really awake to the experience. I've already said this, but for me, this is my deepest medicine, is I dance. And I danced through it all. I danced when I came out of surgery. I danced when I came home from surgery. It was like, oh, I still have this body. I'm still me. It's just going through a whole lot. And I made art. I took a lot of photographs of like the incredible beauty, the gatherings, but also the really strange things that no one ever sees or talks about, you know, the piles of needles that I injected after surgery. I had to take, I don't remember what it was, but it was part of the protocol, because part of what was going to be healing for me was to tell the story, because so much of it is hidden, it's separate, but it's such a lived experience for so many, way too many of us. And something about being a little bit public, a little bit transparent, in my own timing. When I was in it, I was in it. But when it was time to come out, it was like, this is what this is. And I didn't give my mind room to wander. I really was like, absolutely not. Of course, we knew that we didn't know what the ultimate outcome of this whole process would be. At a certain point, it looked like things were going really well, and the cancer had cleared, and now we were just using the chemo to mop things up, as my friend Ginny says. But I really just was disciplined with my thinking. And I have a family member who's a doctor who just really had a lot of concerns, and I really would check them with my oncologist, and then I would release them and just stay on the protocol and what I needed to do each day to show up and get through it in a focused, disciplined, open and grounded way. And some days, as we know, with all that chemo running through us, it's not a very grounded experience. It's a very disorienting experience. And I moved with that, and I let people support me. And what do I call myself as a survivor? I call myself present, awake, willing. It was brave. It took a lot of bravery. It took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of devotion to the future. I really tethered myself to my destiny and a future, and I kept visioning what that would look like. And like an umbilicus, I connected to a future that had me in this world, and I hoped for the best. And I also, it didn't feel like a fight, but it felt like extreme warriorship. Stay focused. Stay with it. And my advice for other survivors is the same of all of this is, you know, we don't wish this on anybody. And it is certainly nobody's fault. We live in an incredibly toxic world. There's so much complexity, including our genetics and so many factors that can converge that can create a climate that fosters cancer in our body. And so be gentle with yourself and really be discerning. That which feels good around you, let it come in. Thank you. And that which feels dissonant or disrespectful or too much fear or too much of the wrong stuff, this is your time to really practice saying no. No, absolutely not. And focus on what you love and cherish, like we need to do every day now. It's not just those of us who had or have the cancer call, it's all of us. Life is precious. And so to savor the days that food does taste good, which weren't a whole lot, but to savor the sweetness of a connection with a loved one, and even the sensations of what we call pain, so that we can really open even more to what we call pleasure, to really let ourselves do that. And when the sun is shining and the trees are golden and we can see it and appreciate it, let ourselves bathe in it, because that's nourishment for our cells and our psyches and our souls and our spirit. And we are whole beings. We are not the cancer. It was never mine. It was this thing that was happening through my body, and we were going to help it move along. So in that spirit, let's keep with our disciplines that keep us healthy. And when we slip off, let's hop back on in terms of our eating and our resting and whatever our meditative or contemplative practices are, to stay with them, because the doorway got opened. It became critical for our survival. And now it can allow us to continue to thrive. And I'm always needing to refine how I show up each day. And so let's keep doing that. And may you stay healthy and strong and grounded. And may we stay here together. Thank you.